chairperson, Dr. Mteto Nyati, says CEO Dan Marokane's efforts to stabilize the power utility are being downplayed, while former CEO Andre de Ruyter was celebrated for far less. Nyati argues that Eskom's turnaround is wrongly credited to the private sector or luck instead of Marokane's leadership, adding that bigotry clouds fair judgment of his work. At its State of the System briefing, Eskom announced that it does not expect load shedding this summer, saying the grid is in a much stronger position. A lot to unpack with the CEO, Dan Marokane, as he joins us to provide some insights on the current state of Eskom. He joins me in studio this morning. But Dan, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. It's a good morning to you. I actually was wondering if I could quiz you on something unrelated to your job for a second.
Yeah.
This water crisis. Are you affected at all in some ways? I mean, it's a major thing for the country, surely.
Yeah, and look, I'm also affected. I'm a Sandton resident. I've witnessed the challenges in the last 3 months. I think we need to get to a point where the problem is sufficiently owned and then plans devised to really resolve it once and for all. You know, yesterday's drive around the city could see quite a lot of open holes along the streets. I'm hoping that this can soon come to an end with interventions from the authorities. Yeah.
I like that you said owning the problem becomes a starting point, and that could be quite key to fixing the situations for whether it be Joburg water or the water crisis in the country. Do you think that that's what's made Eskom a little bit more stable? Owning the problem first and then saying we don't have it under control and we need to?
Yeah, look, I mean, at Eskom, the first key step was to sufficiently understand what is paining the business, what is paining the country. And once there was consensus around the pain points, then very concerted efforts in terms of describing a pathway towards a solution. That pathway, once devised, it was brutally executed. We continue to execute on it. And it is really embodied by what we call the Generation Recovery Plan. It was devised by a combination of management and the new board spending time in workshops, identifying to the level of a power station and to a level of a system in terms of what was wrong and agreeing on what needed to be done and making sure that the resources, both human and financial, are available, and then the discipline of ensuring that what is planned is executed. Yeah.
We don't, and I'm going to go to what Mteto Nyati said in a moment, because he believes that what you've been able to achieve so far at Eskom has been downplayed quite significantly versus what your predecessor was able to do. What do you think you're getting right that perhaps wasn't, and I know you can't necessarily know exactly what is happening at that time, etc., but what is it that you think is working for you that is able to make your job easier?
Look, the first part, as I said, was the strong foundation of spending time on establishing what is wrong, agreeing on it. You know, that plan that led to the Generation Recovery Plan was actually conceptualized by management, by the power station managers working alongside a very technically competent board that was new. So having spent time together, the first thing to do was to say, we now know which are the priority areas that we need to attend to. The second part was making sure that the resources that are availed by the state through the debt relief program are appropriately used in terms of planning for the execution of the maintenance plan. And then the third part is, of course, focusing on the leadership, making sure that the right people are in the right positions, reorientating and taking some people off and bringing others on, bringing very experienced skills from both an engineering and operations perspective. You know, the generation business had a new group executive in the form of Beck, who arrived about a year before me. I came in, I understand the business as well. So you have to have a combination of knowledge, insights about the engineering aspects of the business, but also very strong people-orientated leadership skills that will ensure that the combination of human and financial resources can give you the result that you want. Yeah.
Do you know how many days we are without load shedding?
Look, it's
you don't have the number off the top of your head?
I can tell you now that in the current financial year, we are at about 97% uptime in terms of availability of electricity. We were 96% last year. Yeah. The previous year, when I joined the business, we had 9%. Uptime of electricity availability. We need to get to a point where we don't have to be counting this anymore.
So that was going to be my question. Yeah. So when do we get a point where we're no longer even fearing the chance of load reduction or load shedding? Is it about that energy availability factor reaching at least 70%?
That's correct in one way. We've just had our summer update, summer forecast in terms of the summer plan, and we've indicated that as long as our breakdowns stay below 15,000, we should be having a very free, load shedding free summer.
Do you mind if I ask you how to please explain that?
Yeah.
To somebody who doesn't know what it means to have a breakdown of 15,000 megawatts.
Yeah, look,
would that be an entire power station? Would that be 2 weeks?
No, it's a combination of units. You know, I see you got a nice picture there of a power station.
Yeah.
Many of these power stations are 6 packs. They've got 6 units, individual units that make up a power station. Each of those units can range from 300 megawatts to 8,800 megawatts, like the big Midupi and Kusile units do. So 15,000 will be a combination of units in various stations. Just to give you a sense, at the height of load shedding back in 2023, the unplanned losses were at 18,000. You know, they hovered between 16,000 and 18,000. And we're saying that in fact, yesterday we reached a new record that was last hit in 2017. That number was below 6,000. We were at 5,800 yesterday. If you think about what we just said in the summer plan, that as long as we stay below 15,000, we should have a very comfortable summer. We are at less than 6,000 yesterday. So there's a huge capacity that is released. And where is this capacity coming from? It's coming from the already installed infrastructure in the power stations that we have. This is capacity that was condemned, that was seen as never to be coming back, that needs to be mothballed. It's not good enough for us. But the investment in the maintenance and the disciplined execution of that maintenance and operations has really brought us this capacity.
So you haven't kicked anything down the road, right? Because we're not going to see problems peak up a little bit later on once maybe your time is done at Eskom or the minister's time is done.
No, and that's where the important part comes in. We have invested in the maintenance that was not done before. We are sufficiently on par. We have caught up a little bit compared to where we are. There's still some work to do in the next 2 years. We just have to stay the course. And that's where the discipline comes in. We have to keep the maintenance regime and schedules as per engineering advice and continue to do this. And for that, the utility needs to have sufficient resources, money, to spend in doing all the preparatory work.
Speaking of money, you said in a recent interview, I believe with Money Web, that with load shedding now virtually a thing of the past, Eskom will now focus on ending load reduction and ensuring that electricity is affordable. I want to talk about that last part. How do we make it more affordable? You've recently just asked for a 36% increase. It hurts the pocket.
We asked for that. We didn't get that. We got 12.5 or so to come through. We have, as a business and through the leadership and guidance of our board, have accepted that we need to assist South Africa get back in terms of its economic recovery and live within a single-digit tariff increase going forward. That's what we're modeling our business around. We're doing a lot of internal cost reviews in terms of cost compressions, revenue enhancements, efficiencies, and so we'll be revisiting and engaging very strongly with some of our suppliers around the path that we need to maintain to go forward.
But with that being said, you have the 54 billion that you need to recover through NERSA's recent mistake, and you've said that you're going to do that through a phased approach. How exactly is that going to work?
Look, there's the first thing you do is to get the granting of the 54 billion as was given. The second part is agreeing on how do you want to liquidate that over time. We, of course, take into consideration the impact it will have on consumers. We are not a business that's going away tomorrow. NERSA is not going away tomorrow either. And so we will engage in terms of seeing how we smooth this over time. But the key aspect here is the trajectory of the price beyond that point and going forward. And this is the aspect that the minister has recently indicated, that the electricity pricing policy will be reviewed. It will be reviewed by the first half, end of first half next year. And then we'll have a very comprehensive discussion around how do we contain costs and how do we protect the poor, you know, in terms of the free basic electricity allocations. How do we protect industries that are generating jobs and driving the economy, and how do we protect the utility to make sure that it can maintain its assets and continue to provide the much-needed baseload capacity for the country.
Some of the question marks, though, is we have a lot of people still receiving free electricity. And that puts a strain on all those that are paying for the electricity because they feel like they need to pay more to subsidize some of the others. How do we deal with a general sense of the production, the generation, and then people getting it, the transmission of that power to the right sources, the right people, and then who gets to pay?
Arabile, there are about 10 million households that are classified as indigent in terms of them being eligible to receive free basic electricity. Okay. Only 2 million of those are actually receiving it. So there's a gap there of some 8 million households that are not receiving the free basic electricity that is allocated to them. We need to solve that problem so that, in the first instance, they get what government provides for them. The second issue that we have raised as Eskom is that this free basic electricity quantum was estimated some 15 years ago. And average households' requirements have increased substantially. Yeah. And so we argue that that number needs to be increased to ensure that people that are indigent are not forced into finding other ways of accessing electricity. Because we want to focus on the illegal connections. Yes. We want to focus on those who are buying illegal tokens. That revenue loss from an Eskom perspective is significant. It is, as a matter of fact, the illegal connections that are contributing towards the overloading of infrastructure transformers that are then leading to load reduction. We want to tackle this, and we're going to be working together with the community leaders to ensure that we legitimize the connections and make sure that people pay for what they consume after they've received their free basic electricity.
How much are those illegal connections costing you?
They're costing us quite a substantial amount of money. Look, there's some 580 megawatts equivalent that we are seeing that is affected by load reduction spaces. But in any case, the portion of non-technical losses that we experience as a business runs between 15 and 20 billion rands.
Wow. So non-technical losses includes illegal connections or bridging, etc. It's called. That's phenomenal, actually, as a number. Wow. So you said your pricing model is something you're going to be re-looking at as well.
It is something that's in the domain of the ministry, and the minister has indicated he'll be engaging with all stakeholders to review that approach. We need to make some trade-offs. We need to have a country approach on this, and we are very happy to participate in that process. What needs to happen is when all is said and done, we should be able to find a solution that balances affordability to households, balances affordability to industry, and make sure that the sustainability of the utility is also maintained, because for a long time to come, Eskom's contribution is going to remain very vital in terms of our energy security.
There was a story, though, however, a short while ago, actually, one of the newspapers I was reading, that some of the corporates, your big miners, get charged a little bit less than your everyday households when it comes to it, even though they make up at least 20 to 25% of electricity take in. How do you deal with something like that? Because that would seem a little bit unfair.
The electricity pricing policy allows for something called negotiated pricing agreements that assist specific industries to be competitive given their global peers. That formula exists, and there's regulations that allows us to look at applications from individual mines and households. It is on the back of this that jobs are able to be preserved even when times are tough for those mining sectors. And as I said, the review of the electricity pricing policy is going to really look at how you're balancing all these three aspects. Individual households, economic activities from the manufacturing and industrials, and also making sure that the Eskom as a business remains sustainable. Have
you got a date for me on this, on the review?
Yeah, the minister has indicated that he'll have this done by the end of first half next year, so by June next year, and I'm quite certain that that will be the case. I know for a fact that a lot of work is already underway in this regard.
Okay, very important. Just as we get to the final part, what does the energy mix look like in future? Because you have solar panels which have taken up, I wouldn't say a massive part, but it's significant enough. I think 5,000 megawatts or so.
Look, you do have that level of contribution. We back calculated. We estimate it's around 5,000 to 7,000 megawatts. You're going to see an increase in renewables, definitely, as more transmission grid becomes available. but you're also going to see the base load that Eskom has remaining the mainstay of the supply from a country perspective for at least the next 10 years. When the wind is not blowing, no sun like we've experienced in the last 3 months, we've seen very peculiar weather patterns where everybody who was off suddenly rushed back onto the grid. So we need to prepare ourselves as a country to deal with this kind of changes. We have to see more base load coming in. As more renewables come in, you need more dispatchable power. So the gas-to-power generation options needs to come in. More base load from nuclear needs to come through. This is part of the integrated resource plan. Hopefully that will be released soon. And we need to start having an integrated energy plan being executed on so that we can lead with excess electricity to pull the economy into growth going forward. Yeah.
Can I do something right now? Yeah. I'm going to ask you to look at our poll question.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to vote.
Yeah.
Not as CEO of Eskom, just as Dan Marokane, a citizen of Johannesburg.
You can't isolate those two. Yeah.
How affordable is electricity in your household? Is it manageable, too expensive, or is it becoming costly?
Look, I mean, let's face this for what it is. It is a fact that electricity is becoming unaffordable for the many in our country. It's a fact. We appreciate this as Eskom, and it is for that reason that we're saying we are ready to engage. It is on the back of this that we have said, at the minimum, we are certain that we will be asking nothing more than a single-digit increase going forward. We will not be coming back with...
So no more than 10%, less than 10%?
Yeah, less than 10%. It does require us to do a lot internally in terms of driving cost efficiencies, and we are going to be doing that. Our costs are as a result of those we interact with in terms of our procurement processes, and we're going to have to tackle every of those aspects to make sure that we remain that.
I know you don't have to benchmark to inflation, but inflation is only 3%, plus minus.
Yeah, but the energy the inflation within our space is not driven by only the There's mining inflation is different. Yeah. We've got close to 40% of our input costs comes from coal. There's a whole lot of
work's not done. Work's not done. You've got a lot of work still to do.
Yeah.
The relationship between yourself, the minister, the board, executive, etc. How important is that to how far this business is going?
It's very important. What we are achieving at Eskom is not something that comes as a result of one individual. I'm only one of the 42,000 employees, only one of the 10 or so Eskom members, only one of the 12 board members, and the minister is a very important shareholder. There's perfect alignment, tough conversations we have around performance when it's not happening. You've seen those in public. What is very clear is that we are very committed, all of us, to making sure that we really improve the performance of this business for the sake of the country. That's what drives us every day. Yeah.
Please make it more affordable. That's all we can ask for. Yeah. But Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us in studio as well. It really, really is a pleasure.